Hello, can you all hear me? Raise your hand if you have built up AI feature. Raise your hand if you are feeling sleepy because of the lunch. I'll just try to be quick and crisp so that none of you feel more sleepy. But how do you know it's actually working? The simple solution is you wire in your LLM as a judge, and because we can't simply write assert output as correct and expect our system to tell whatever we have shipped, whatever prompt we have shipped is correct or not. Then you wire in your CI. So let's take an example of a help and support system. Your customer writes an email about a shattered mirror, and then your AI bot is supposed to give an answer according to the policies, read it properly, give a polite response, and whatever can be done that is policy compliant, reply it. Then you wire in GPT-4 as judge that grades your output and gives us score that this response that we gave to the customer is good or not, good enough or not. Just these three things, your input, your output, and expected output, and what your AI actually produced. And you can get things like a score, if it is pass or fail, if it is true, pass is true or false, and a reasoning that why this answer that I have from the AI was good enough or like bad enough, whatever the reasoning for it. But then your cloud bill arrives. $600 a month if you run only 20 evaluations a day, and that is just for a 5 people engineering team. So hence my talk. How can we run evaluations at zero cost, where we can go beyond our API calls and have local workflows that help us to have better accuracy with the prompts and the AI features that we are shipping without raising our cloud bills. So, circling back to my help and support example, my original prompt was read through the customer email thoroughly, apologize sincerely, and then give a response to my customer based on whatever we can do for them that is policy compliant. Uh, AI drafted responses for angry customers. It was working fine. But then my PM comes in and says, "Can we make it a little more warmer, a little more casual for our customers? Can we make it a little more friendlier?" Then we made the new prompt that was apologize sincerely using a warm, friendly, and casual tone. The AI got too casual, and 100 things broke in production. AI promised, gave a response based on outdated customer policy, promised refund for a bunch of things, and got too casual with the customers. But how can we stop such things from going to production? If you see, if we see an example, say the glass mirror was shattered on arrival, and I need a replacement for it. One response with our previous prompt would have been, "We sincerely apologize, your mirror arrived. We can send a replacement in 2 through 3 business days." But a very casual response would be, "Oops, looks like your mirror had a bad day. And don't worry, we have got you fully covered." We don't want such responses to go to our production, because again, like these things then later pile up a lot when it comes to compliance and court cases and whatnot. So whenever we are building something like this, we pay twice. Once we are when we are building it, and secondly when we are verifying it if what we have built is correct or not. So what actually happens is, if there is a lot of cost burden that is coming on because of verification, teams simply choose to skip it. That will see it in regression. My QA will just type in five, customer will just play like customer, and we'll just test it for 5 prompts from QA only. We'll do spot checks to cut costs. We can disable the CI, and we can find this in automation testing possibly. But what happens in all of this is something quietly degrades for weeks and nobody notices, because when there is no exact judging on all of this, there is no, when it comes to natural speeds, there is no trace that we can actually get that, the responses that my customers were getting were compliant or not. The expensive evaluations are the ones that we don't run, because these are the ones that actually cost us a lot when it comes to losing customers and those things. We saw a lot of talks around browser AI today. Browser AI is real now. Web GPU and quantized elements, LLMs are enabling us to run a lot of things in our browsers. Hence, Gemma 4, uh, we can do all of these evaluations in our browser itself. Uh, it handles text and images and gives a very structured JSON response. And the key feature is it's grammar constraint decoding and enforcing JSON schema. And the cost, of course, there are no API cost that goes through it. So it costs 0 per call after the download. So our architecture would look something like this. On our main app, our React app would only run. This will be same as before. We have a generator worker which is generating the outputs, which is where my Gemma 4 is generating the output. And in parallel, I have my judge worker where my Gemma 4 is scoring what outputs are coming. And then I'm scoring all these evaluation results in my IndexedDB right in my browser itself. So it would look something like this. And my input, I have my input expected and what the actual thing that AI generated, and the score would look something like this, and pass and false, and what is the reasoning behind it. What does this score actually means? We want to define a threshold that if the responses that I'm getting from AI, if they are too low, if they are failing, that means it is hallucinating facts and it is violating policies and saying something that should definitely not go to prod. Borderline is something that has some notable issues. Pass is where it is meets the bar, accurate, and it's appropriate. And excellent is something that it's accurate, warm, policy compliant, and it's perfect for my customers to consume as a response. Here are just example of 5 of the customer emails that came through in our in the prompt that we had earlier. So if I run a judge on all of this, we can have a score that if it passes our criteria or not, what is the reasoning, if they are policy compliant or not. But when I tweaked my prompt and changed it to make it more friendly and casual tone to the customer, I would need to run this test again and see if it is still compliant, if it is still good to go with all the test emails that I have. So here, if I run it, then if I am getting not getting threshold enough score for a lot of my emails, then it's not a good enough prompt to ship. Now, where do these evaluations can run? These can run at 3 places. One is definitely during our rapid development. When I am developing doing my development, there only I can check in my browser how my new prompt is working for me. Another is, which is very important, to have it in a headless Chromium and have a headless Chromium and Web GPU setup, and we can just wire it into a CI so that it blocks the PRs that are not passing a certain threshold score. And another is that we can also add it in our regression step where we can check, where we can have it another check of 100 or 120 sets, so that again what we are trying to optimize is for accuracy. So in 3 steps, we are pushing the regression. Something of a under quality is easier to be caught rather than to catching these things in production. But there is one con to using this local models is that the accuracy is not as par with something like GPT-4 that is running on your cloud. So for that, there are different ways we can optimize it further. So there are a lot of techniques to do it for your system, but here are some of the ones that I would like to cover. One is chain of thought forcing. So if I give a prompt that give me the score, pass, and reasoning, versus if I give a prompt that give me the reasoning, score, and pass, In the first one, my score came out to be 0.8, and then came the reasoning. The model committed to 0.8 first because it jumped to the conclusion first, and for that score, it gave the reasoning that okay, I gave the score, and hence the reasoning. But when it is more reasoning led, the score came out to be less because now the score followed the analysis that already happened. Another way is criteria decomposition. This can differ from product to product. For help and support, policy is a very main part of it. That I don't want to promise anything to my customers that is not policy compliant. So I gave a decomposed score of three things: tone, accuracy, and policy. And all the aggregate of all of three would be my main score that defines that whether this prompt should go to production or not. So for tone and accuracy, even if my prompt worked well, but if it is not working well for policy, then it shouldn't ship further because what I the bot can be friendly, can promise anything, but if it is promising a refund as well as a replacement, then it is not compliant with the company. But if I would have checked the same prompt in a single go, the results can be misleading. It could have been 0.7 because we don't know where the bias of the judge went. Another thing is reference anchoring. What if Gemma 4 alone ROG is giving an accuracy of 0.7, but if I anchor it that this is what my bad response looks like, this is what my good response looks like, and this is what a borderline response looks like. It has references and anchors that okay, these are my boundaries, and this is what a good example and a bad example is. And another thing is ensemble voting. We can run three of the workers in parallel, that and it again wouldn't cost a lot, but then we can have a aggregated of the same. If it fails for most of the judges, then it is failing. It's the overall fail. So again, it helps us to not get biased scores in general. The same runtime that runs a model can also run your judge. Eval harness, eval harness that costs nothing is the one that your team will end up using, and is the one that will help you ship with better accuracy, because again and again there won't be a lot of pressure that okay, we need to cut cost here and there. And the browser is becoming an inference runtime, and React engineers should know about this. That's all from my side. You can find me on Twitter with this handle. And my image is not loading. That was a QR code of my handle. But this is my handle. You can find me on Twitter. Thank you.